Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram. So today I would like to tell you about Rahu and Ketu in the 2nd and 8th house axis. So if Rahu is in the 2nd house and Ketu is in the 8th house, it turns into a Rahu Ketu 2nd to 8th axis. So in case this turns into a Kala Sarpa Yoga, it's dangerous. Apurna Kala Sarpa Yoga or Kala Sarpa Yoga is dangerous. But here, the sun and so here we have a few charts in which we have seen that Rahu and Ketu, which are present in the 2nd and the 8th house, generally contribute to people, according to Phaladipika. They will be speaking wrong things, they will speak things which have double meaning because Rahu is a cheating kind of thing. So whatever these kind of people speak, it will have a double meaning. So they'll speak one thing and it will have a double meaning. And then also people who have Rahu in the 2nd house cheat others, and also they'll have problem in the mouth and the head. Generally it also has very good effect sometimes, like the person gets lots of money kind of thing. But for this also you should have a good aspect from Jupiter or Venus, or there should be a conjunction of these planets. But if Jupiter conjuncts Rahu here, the person will always cheat people through his speech. He will tell people lies and make money through that, because charts, you can just take a look at them. The first one is of Emperor Nero, who had Rahu in the 2nd house, and we know Emperor Nero's character. He was such a bad man, and he had such a bad life, and he had such an obscene life, an evil life, and his mind was totally corrupt, etc. So people who generally have Rahu with Mars or something like that in the 2nd house, it's a dangerous combination. And if Venus comes there, it turns even more dangerous for the person's moral instincts. And then Albert Einstein's chart has Ketu in the 2nd house. So 2nd house rules the house of education. So we can't say Albert Einstein was not educated, but we can say his primary education was very bad. And of course we know that till he was 5 years old, he couldn't speak a single word. So that is ruled by Ketu, because Ketu was in the 2nd house. He couldn't speak a single word when he was in primary school. And we have another chart of Chittaranjan Das, who has Ketu and Shani in the 2nd house. This shows he was a very big politician, and he went to England again. Most of these politicians go to England and they earn money from there, and then they come here and become politicians here. So this Chittaranjan Das also has Ketu in the 2nd house. So whenever Ketu or Rahu in the 2nd house, the other counterparts, Rahu or Ketu, will be in the 8th house. So what are the effects of Rahu or Ketu being in the 8th house? Generally, people who have Rahu or Ketu in the 8th house have big problems, accidents, etc. in their life. And they generally, if Ketu is in the 8th house, they will be given ancestral property. But this combination should generally be better fortified for good longevity. So if you have Rahu or Ketu in the 8th house, please immediately perform the remedial measures for that. And if there's Mars or Shani right there again, that's even bad for your for your longevity. So you should do some remedial measures for that if you have such a problem. And Rahu and Ketu in the 2nd to 8th axis generally has these kind of effects. The person will be wealthy if Jupiter, etc. are present in the axis, and the person will have a very powerful political nature. Like the chart of Chittaranjan Das shows the same thing. Ketu and Guru have an aspect here. Ketu and Guru have an aspect. So when Ketu and Guru, sorry, not Ketu and Guru, Shani and Guru have an aspect here. So when Shani and Guru have an aspect, generally the person is very good at politics. The person is a politician. So you can see the chart here clearly, and you'll know how big these people turn later on in their lives. And Mars in this Jataka is in the 10th house. So Mars also aspects the Lagna. And since Mars is aspecting the Lagna from the 10th house, he gives the native a very powerful political career and generally controls the political career of that person. So these kind of people like Chittaranjan Das, generally who have Shani and Ketu in the 2nd house, and then Guru and Rahu in the 8th house, they have quite okay longevity because Guru is in the 8th house, not a big problem. But people who have Guru and Rahu in the 8th house generally are liars. They lie and make money. Politics is full of lies, and the polished name for it is, being diplomatic, etc. So it's very important to understand all of this. And then we have another chart of Harry S. Truman, who has Rahu and the Moon in the 2nd house. So when a person has Rahu and the Moon in the 2nd house and Ketu and the Sun in the 8th house, as it is here, so both the planets are engulfed with Rahu and Ketu. This is kind of an eclipse condition. If it was a Purnima, it would be an eclipse condition. So people who are born with this kind of a yoga generally have big problems. Big problems. Their life is generally eclipsed. It's called Grahana Yoga. Whenever Surya and Rahu or Ketu come together, it will become a Grahana Yoga. So the person who has this kind of a yoga will come into Grahana. But generally, because of other there are many other combinations here, so the person grows up to become the president of the United States. But still, this kind of a combination has to be carefully assessed before we make proper predictions. And Rahu and Ketu in the 2nd and 8th house have various effects, not only the ones given here, because Rahu and Ketu in nature, they combine with various other planets and give the effects of those planets. So sometimes in Venus Dasha, if Rahu is present with Venus, Rahu will give the effects of Venus, and Venus will give the malefic effects of Rahu. Rahu's Dasha will prove better than Venus Dasha for that particular person. So once we consider all of these facets, generally Rahu absorbing the effect of other planets, it's like a sponge. So when any particular planet is present in any other house, Rahu takes the influences of that and gives it, along with a tinge of his malefic influences, of course, and he also imparts that poisonous malefic influence to others. Just like a snake never gets affected by its own poison, and in fact its own poison is very helpful for it, Rahu gives people the effects of his poison, give planets the effects of his poison, and gives their effects to us. So Rahu absorbs the planets in conclusion. So therefore, before we make simple and clear out predictions of the planets, we should first analyze whether they are really going to give those effects. Because when a person has severe combinations like the ones in Emperor Nero's Jataka, where Mars and Rahu were present together in the 2nd house, and Ketu was present separately in Cancer, so that's the Alpayu Jataka. So after considering all of these things, we can make a proper prediction. So here again, in the 8th house, the Lord of the 8th house is Mercury, and it's in Lagna. The Lord of the 8th house is Moon, and it is in the 9th house. So it is in the house that is the 2nd to the 8th. So it's again a Marka house. And then for, so it is an Alpai Jataka in general. And therefore, we can easily know that such Jatakas have to first be analyzed with the positions of each one of the planets in relation to Rahu and Ketu, whether Rahu and Ketu are contributing to a benefic thing to the person or a malefic thing to the person. Generally, they are Jatakas where Rahu and Mars come together in one house. And when Rahu and Mars come together in one house and there is no beneficial aspect, the Dasha of Rahu will give the effects of Mars, which is of course another malefic planet. So Mercury is also just like Rahu in a sense. So he becomes a benefic planet when associated with benefics, a malefic planet when associated with malefics. So in some Jatakas, there is an aspect of a malefic planet on Mercury, and when he's along with the Sun, Mercury becomes a malefic planet. So in Emperor Nero's Jataka, we can see that Mercury is a malefic planet. So the speech of a person will be affected in a way when Rahu or Ketu are present in the 2nd house, or if it's not affected, it will at least be having a double meaning, or they will earn money through lies. We can see that the 2nd house is a house of speech, the house of the family, and also it is a house of money. So analyzing all these three things, Rahu or Ketu, when they come in that particular house, they take or give the effects of that particular house. So sometimes when Rahu comes to the 2nd house and we are analyzing it as a Kutumba Bhava or family, then we can predict that a person who is opposite to the culture of this particular person will be married into that family. So if a native has Rahu in the 2nd house or Ketu in the 2nd house, generally for Hindu astrology, Rahu is a culture like Muslim and Ketu like Christian. But generally, if this is in a Muslim's jataka or in another person's jataka, then a culture which is opposite to this person's culture will be the home of the spouse of the person who has this yoga. So that also can be one of the things that we can analyze before we check out on Rahu and Ketu in the second house. Sometimes when Jupiter is present with Rahu and Ketu in the second house, they have a new person coming into the family. Somebody you don't even know, they come into the family. Of course, that's by marriage. So these kind of things, not only by marriage, because that person might not marry, but he might get another relation of another person from another family, because some other relative of himself marries another person in another family. So you can't always say that this person will have a spouse from another community, but we can also say that the any person might be in any relation, might be maybe the mother or some relative of that particular native might be from another community. So these kind of things also can be assessed before we make proper predictions. So this is what happens when Rahu and Ketu are in the 8th house. So thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.